We are back. Welcome to season 2 of Todd's Fungus and Fermentation. We are back after a couple years hiatus by popular demand. It's actually quite amazing how many people have reached out to me or seen me and said, "You've got to do that again. You've got to do that again." And so I'm finally getting around to doing this again. But man, what is wrong with you people? So I don't know. Well, but I'm happy to do it. I'm really happy that the first season seemed to create so much happiness, a few laughs, some goofiness. So I have some ideas for season 2. We're going to still kind of make it up as go along. I'm going to do one thing is the basis for it, and we're going to make up some things as we go along. So, it's been over 2 years since we did this. We really did it as the pandemic first hit. It was really kind of odd thinking all that way back. And, a lot of things have changed since then. You'll probably notice I grew a beard, really let myself go during the pandemic. Lots of other things have changed too. So I grew a beard. So one of the things though that I did during the pandemic was I really started to get an interest in tracking down where I could buy and tasting a lot of different retro beers that were available in the market. And it was really interesting to me, to learn which ones were still available, which ones you could buy, which ones you could buy but were really hard to find, and then some of those that were off the market. And so what I've decided to do is, many of you, by the way, have seen me trying one of those beers on a lovely Sunday afternoon, and many of you have made fun of me for my beer selection. And, I want to point out, a lot of people said to me, "Well, God, I can't believe you drink really bad beer." And I don't think that's the case. Retro beers have their place, and that place is spectacular. Now, they're not for everyone, and I'm not saying I drink them all the time. I love the IPAs. I love the different varieties of craft beers out there. But there's a time and a place where a good crappy beer will do, and that's what I'm going for here. So what I've done is I've collected 16 different retro beers, and what I'm going to do is we're going to kick off Todd's Retro Beer Tournament of Champions. So each episode, I will try 2 retro beers head to head and advance one in the tournament until we create a grand champion of retro beers. I know, contain your excitement. Now, I know what you're saying, but Todd, where's the fungus? And yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet. I probably will end up growing some different kinds of mushrooms. I might do something else there. I'm still kind of thinking through it. We've got a few episodes to get started with the tournament, and then I think we can start bringing the mushroom aspect back into it, because what would fungus and fermentation be without mushrooms? So while we go, I will also bring up some fun facts that I've learned about these beers along the way. So, nothing like learning about the history of these beers. So, with that, I think we are ready for the first tasting. So, the 1 seed in the upper bracket, we're going to give this one to Pabst. Tried and true retro beer, still very popular, still big with the hipsters, as I display my hipster beard. Still big with the hipsters. So this is the 1 seed in the upper bracket. Taking on the 4 seed in the upper bracket, and this is Point Special Lager. Obviously made in Stevens Point. So a couple interesting things about these. Pabst, as most of you know, was brewed in Milwaukee until about the 90s. And just recently, a couple years ago, they actually renovated the Pabst brewery, and it's now a hotel. And My parents were nice enough to give us a gift card for there, and my lovely wife, Nyla, and I stayed there for a night, and I highly recommend that. You can tour the old offices. The hotel's amazing. They build right around the Copper Kettles. Anyone who goes to Milwaukee, I definitely recommend taking advantage of that and doing the tour. It is an absolute blast. So then as we get to Point, as I mentioned, Stevens Point, this one, has always been a fan of mine. Not necessarily this, but Point in general. The gym bar where I spent a few hours while I was in college always had Point Bach on tap. And Point Bach, unfortunately, you cannot get anymore. They do not make it anymore. But when I was there with some friends of mine, Jim or Eric or Sejal or my lovely wife Nyla, we'd always seem to get ourselves a pitcher of Point Bach. So Point's got a special place in my heart too. So with that, we're going to move to the tasting. So we will start with Pabst. Yeah, that's good. There's just not much to say. It's exactly the way a retro beer should taste. Crisp, hoppiness, not overly hoppy, but it does have a definite bite. Very nice. Now let's go with Point. That one surprised me a little bit. I've had it before because, believe me, I didn't just buy a can or two of these. I bought a case, or in most cases, a 30-pack because you get the bonus 6. And I like it, but when you try it right next to the Pabst, it really differs. It has very much of a maltiness, almost a sweetness with a malt finish, much more than I expected. A little less clean than Pabst. So definitely different. So people that just think these old crappy beers, and I say crappy with affection, taste the same, it's definitely not true. So last season, my spritzing music for the mushrooms was very popular. So I am bringing back that in a variety right now. We're going to go with some thinking music. So I'm going to play a little music while I consider the who is going to be the victor in this week 1 episode. So to start this off, we're going to start this week with what's better than a Milwaukee band. Let's start off with the Bodines. All right, and tonight we will not have an upset. Pabst advances. Point, we appreciate your participation. We have some consolation prizes, but I appreciate everybody watching. I will post the bracket online so you can see it anytime. I don't know why you would, but you can see it anytime. Leave me questions. Leave me feedback. Feedback is a gift. Rate 5 stars. I don't know where you're going to rate, but rate 5 stars. And we will see you on our next episode. Thank you very much.